Aloha, Flow Riders, and Merry New Year.
Merry New Year to you all.
What's happening, Case?
Not much. I'm so excited to be here in 2026 with everyone. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a really great year.
You know what's funny is I didn't feel as wound up for 2026, not because I'm not ready, but like I started in November. And
Yeah,
so in our group, like Marianne, I know she's in the chat, like we were talking about this for way, like we wanted to come in running. And so when it flipped, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, nothing really changed. Also, I think it was different because I wasn't, at home. So, there's not all of the crazy fireworks and all of the weirdness that goes on here. What everybody does in Japan is wake up for the first sunrise, and then you go to Hatsumode, which is you go to temple on the first day. And, you do your, and it's not like, here, like you go to church, you sit there and listen to somebody talk to you for 6 hours. You go there on your own accord and you do your own prayer to the own, the temple, and you ring the bell to shake off the noise, and you leave an offering for any family members, and you leave. So like, morning temple visit could last you all of 20 minutes versus, my Catholic version, which used to be 20 hours. And yeah, it's just different. So you spend a lot more time on New Year's with your actual family. And yeah, it was really, really cool. So I'm happy to be back. It was cool. Standing there in the freezing cold first thing in the morning, though, that's a different story.
and you don't get to talk about freezing cold. It's like 20 degrees here right now. And not 20 Celsius for all of our Canadian and European friends.
20F.
20F, yeah. It's 20 freezing in Boston.
What the freaking Fahrenheit? Jesus. Oh, that's crazy. Anyway,
what the Fahrenheit?
What the freaking Fahrenheit? What are we talking about today, Kate? I'm excited.
Well, we are diving back into a new season of The Flow, and we thought, what better way to dive in than to talk through our podcast predictions for 2026, as well as kind of what the state of podcasting is right now. So if you're hanging out with us live here in the studio chat, we'd love for you to drop in what your predictions are for this year, what you're really excited about in the world of podcasting and video podcasting. So feel free to throw those into the comments. We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, we're going to be diving into our predictions, which, as you know, Doc is like a little bit magical. he always has like the actual predictions, and they always come true. So, we need, maybe this year, Doc, is the year that we actually make Flow Rider Doc is right t-shirts, or Doc was right. Doc is right. Doc was right. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
I try. Well, the thing is, I think most of my predictions are relatively safe because I do believe in paying attention to the industry as a whole. I think so many people, for whatever reason, they want to do a podcast. They want the podcast to be successful, and they go out, they get the mic, they get the lights, they get the camera, they produce their show, and then they don't know why it's not working. But that's because they haven't really looked into what's going on in the industry. And so even to this day, and full well, we go to conferences where my audio only friends are still fighting that fight. And I appreciate y'all. Y'all can fight your butts until your heart's content, but you lost, dog. Like, I don't care how you like it, you lost. Nobody gives a rat's fink about RSS except those of us who used to make them by hand back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, the average person don't know what that is. And I would say technically sound, and this might be a reach, but I look at somebody like your other half, who is a brilliant individual, who's an engineer, he's super smart, and I'm like, yo, what's the RSS feed? He may be like, I don't know, what the heck they got to do with me, right? But he knows how to do all myriad sorts of things, like build incredible furniture, like make robots, like the whole 9 yards. But the RSS feed is not important to what he needs in order to get his daily task done, right? Yeah. I mean, if you like a show, you put it on your phone, it shows up in your phone. That's it, right? And then now we got YouTube, and so many people are watching from the television. Yo, the algo will make sure you see when the new versions come out if you are watching them at the clip that you say you watch them. Because the other thing that people do with RSS feeds, which is why I'm so glad that they're kind of going away, is you subscribe to something that you think you're going to listen to, and you get through about 2 episodes, and then you skip one, and then your phone just downloads, and one day you go back to your podcast app and you got 30 episodes to listen to. So you weren't really subscribed per se or following.
Yeah.
They even changed the name because subscribing just seems weird, right? But like
Yeah.
Stranger Things, oh, you'll sit down and watch 8 hours of that in a row.
Yeah, it is interesting kind of how we consume content now. And actually one of our first trends really is that podcasting is becoming much more show-like. So everything that you said is absolutely relevant to this prediction. We are consuming podcasts more like we are consuming shows. So there's parts of us, or some of us, who are consuming it in a binge format, right? Like we're like, all right, I'm going to fly through this entire show. I'm just going to go episode after episode after episode. And then there are some of us who are like joining a community, a group. We're becoming flow riders. We're all in and we're showing up consistently time and time again where our podcast friends and our podcast community is. Some of us who are doing both. We're, listening to podcasts when we're out, driving around or walking the dog or doing chores. And then we're throwing it up onto the TV when we're home in the evening. It's sort of becoming more show-like, but also more of part of our everyday lives and the ability to consume it when we want, how we want, where we want, and to switch between the different platforms and spaces and places really easily. And as you were saying, YouTube is best in class at this and really is owning that space of you as the listener, as the viewer, as the podcast community member. You decide where you want to consume your content, when you want to consume your content, how you want to consume it. But it is, I think, a lot more like a show. And one of the things I have bulleted here, so I make sure that I don't forget to say it, is that it really, really is coming down to those who are consistent and who are showing up with something to say and who are doing it on a regular, consistent basis will continue to win, because it really, really matters way more about being consistent in the way that you're delivering your show to people than being novel, being super innovative, being like geeking out over kind of all of the different ways to do it, because people are going to seek out your content and people are going to want to consume it in the way that they want to consume it. So you need to be there consistently. You need to have a regular schedule. It can be whatever your schedule wants to be, but you really, really need to get consistent with it. Stop saying you're going to do it and just start doing it consistently.
Well, let's cover something really quick, because you brought it up and I want to make sure that everybody is hearing you, because they don't hear me. I've been saying it forever. So maybe y'all listen to Katie. The consummate overthinkers, the consummate, I need this to twirl and dance and do all kind of weird stuff. I need you to stop. 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 We're Ecamm. So our software can do all of the things that you want to twirl around, but you don't need to. So I'm going to go through the list of the top 5. Okay? Joe Rogan's still number 1. In second place, Stephen Bartlett with Diary of a CEO. And then third place, Mel Robbins' podcast. And then after that is Crime Junkie and The Daily. Okay, so covering the first 3 as video podcasts. The Joe Rogan Experience has always been a dude sitting at a table with another dude, mostly because he runs the Dingosphere.
It's an interview show, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a single camera looking down the pipe at both, and a camera looking at Joe, and a camera looking at the host. Okay, so it's a 3-camera setup, and all of the shots are talking head, talking head, talking head. There's not much. Now, I haven't watched it in 3 years because I can't stand it, but we'll skip that one and just go over to. We'll go to Diary of a CEO. We go to Mel Robbins. Diary of a CEO. Steve's at the table. You see Steve's face, right? Somebody else is on the opposite end of the table. You see their face, and then you see the long shot of the table. There's no moving backgrounds. There's no overlays. There's no lower thirds. There's no upper thirds. There's no anything. It is shot, shot, shot conversation, right? That is it. But everybody who is trying to be a beginning podcaster goes out and they're like, well, I need a special scene for this. And I need a special scene. No, you don't. Stop it. You're making your job hard, and it's the reason why you can't get your show out. Nobody needs to see all of that twirly stuff because they're not watching it like that, right? That twirly stuff is for ESPN, but we're not doing ESPN. We're doing a podcast. And all we're doing in the video format is adding faces and bodies to the conversation. So if you look at the number one podcast, number two podcast, number three podcast, it is really two people sitting at a table and a shot of each of them and then the table. Now, you don't have three cameras. Cool. Both of y'all sit at a single table and then use the cropping feature in Ecamm to go face wide. So you and Jill on the couch yesterday, that's the show. That is the show that everybody is making. And if the show that gets 35 million downloads a week, why do you need to twirl anything?
Yeah.
Ask yourself that question.
Do you know what else is actually really interesting in what you just said there? So, so you mentioned my other half a few minutes ago, Dane, who is hilariously, if you asked him if he listens or consumes any podcasts, he would say no. He's not a podcast person.
But he does.
He doesn't do podcasts, right? Like he doesn't do podcasts the way that I do. I'm constantly like seeking out the podcasts that I love, listening to them, watching them, like spending time with my podcast people, right? But Dane could tell you almost every single episode of Diary of a CEO because that's a show he watches, right? But Diary of a CEO. So he would not consider that in his mind to be a podcast, but it is a podcast. And honestly, it doesn't even matter because it still has the audience, right? It has the ratings. It has whether or not people are watching clips of it. They're reading quotes from it. They're listening to the entire episode on a podcast player. They're watching it in little chunks on YouTube on their TV, or they're binge watching an entire group of episodes over some period of time. All of those people are all connected in our community of that show, and I really think again, we're going to continue to see that this year. It's going to continue to expand in that we will all, ideally, everyone that is connected with this show will have a show or multiple shows of some kind that will be really similar to what we have in our head as a definition of a show. So the words aren't going to matter as much as it seems like they do. So I think we're caught up, and I get it. I'm an English lit major, so believe me, I get it. We're caught up in the semantics of the word itself, right? We're like, well, a podcast has to check these boxes, has to be this thing, has to RSS feed, has to be blah, 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 has all these things. I think we're now seeing a movement where we can free ourselves of that. We don't need to put ourselves into the box of podcast. We are creating a show. We are creating a community. We are creating an experience that educates, entertains, uplifts, brings together people. And I think that list that you just gave is a great representation of that, because what matters in all of those shows is the connection, the community, the conversations, all of those things that are agnostic of format. So I think again, what's going to really win in this space going forward isn't just one-off conversations. It's curated conversations that are building community. It's staying really consistent, but it's not really overthinking, as you were saying, all of the things that we are able to do. You don't need to be overthinking that as much. You don't really need to be overthinking the terminology as much. You really just need to be delivering on the concept of consistent episodes of a show.
That's incredible. And you're 100% right. And if you think about it, one of the reasons why having a structured format really does help you is it helps bring down your editing problem, right? So I was listening to Gretchen on Sunday talking to Strick,
Yeah.
and she still says like editing is the one thing that she hates the most. And I laughingly told her, well, if I use iMovie to edit, I would hate it too. But hey, that's a different conversation, Gretchen. She's not here to defend herself.
We love you, Gretchen.
but yeah, having a structured format is good. Now, some of you are going to say, and I just seen her pop up in the chat, this little troublemaker here. You say, well, I don't know what my structure is yet. Cool. Do what Mary Lou is doing. She's doing Good Morning Mary Lou, and she said yesterday in her first inaugural episode, I don't know what the structure is yet. You guys are going to help me figure it out. So today, we're just going to have a conversation. And as we figure this out, we'll build the structure as we go along according to what the people want to see. And she goes, you guys tell me. Don't be afraid to ask, fam. Because here's the thing. I get this all the time, and I fight. And Paul and Mary Lou would tell you on Saturdays, I get tweaked out when people ask me, well, I want to know your exact workflow. I'm like, I will tell you my workflow. I have nothing to hide from you, but my workflow will not work for you. Why? You ain't me, dog. I'm cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I open my mouth, the light comes on inside. So you're going to try to take my workflow and it's going to fail and you're going to say I was wrong. Well, no, because my workflow is my workflow. But what you do want to do is take the workflow and then like this part will work for me. This part may or may not. Let me attempt this with my audience. My audience doesn't like that. And you make these adjustments. So the thing that Mary Lou is doing, which I think is absolutely epic, is you talk to your audience. You say, hey, guys, what do you want to see? How do you think we should approach this? And then don't worry, we can always change it. And so you're letting the people know that it's fluid. So the flow that we have right now came from about 10, 15 episodes of figuring it out. And now we have the quote unquote hashtag, no pun intended, flow. Where we come in, we say hi to everybody, we tell them that we're going to do a recording, and then we kind of get into our thing and say when unstuck. Like, Mary Lou and I, we go through the Runner Show live. And so people can see that it's not that hard, bro. You just literally take a couple topics, bounce some ideas back and forth, write down a couple bullet points and run. So we do ours live. And I think everybody can understand that. If you have these clear segments like Katie is saying, then people will wait for them. And the other thing that does for you, which admittedly we suck at, and Katie and I swear we're going to fix it this time, is taking those clear segments and putting them out as just clips.
Yeah.
Right. So if we have a thing where we have like, these are the news for the week, we could take that single clip that's about 3 to 5 minutes long or whatever's popping off in the industry, and we can publish that as a single video, as a flow clip. And then now it's living on its own. Go ahead. Sorry.
The great news about everything that you just said, and you actually just covered our next 2 trends, so you're killing it already. But the great thing about all of it is that with the rise of AI and of a ton of automation and robots and everything in between, there has been really and continues to be this pushback of audiences really just wanting more human connection, less polish, more personality, more real people. You can do that and still look professional. I'm not saying for you to, just go out there and show up and sit there silently because you don't know what to say. But I think like Good Morning Mary Lou is a really fantastic example of this. And Mary Lou is obviously best in class at knowing the exact right things to do. But let's use this as an example. No, she needs a big head. Let's use her as an example in that she knew that she really just wanted to be able to have a morning show, right? Like this was like a dream of hers from childhood. Like this is what she wanted to have, was like this time and space in the morning that used to get filled up with news and, more like a traditional media morning shows. And many of us don't consume that anymore, but we have YouTube, we have podcasts, we have all of these different, other things that were filling in the gap. So she knew that if she put herself into that space, there was a need for that kind of programming. The content itself will come, as you said, but she's able to show up as a personality, not needing a ton of polish or quote unquote professionalism. She's just making time and space for people to come together to spend that time that they used to tune into a news program, a morning show, et cetera, on TV and don't anymore, right? So there's still a strategy behind there. There's still a thought to it, but there's a human side to it. There's kind of the ability for people to step into that space with her and prep for their day in a less kind of like icky way. Like we're all sort of sick and tired of like everything coming at us through social media and through all of these other different digital spaces, right? So getting to just sit with your friends and being like, all right, guys, like, what are we talking about today? How's everyone feeling today? Let's psych ourselves into the day. Like, there's a need for that. And I'm so glad that she's doing something like that and filling that need. So whoever you are, whatever your topic is, there is a need and a space for you to be more yourself and for you to be more of a human in amongst the robots. And the cool thing is, and this is the other trend that Doc highlighted, the robots are there to do all of the grunt work for us. So like pulling out great clips from an episode, like Doc and I and Luis and whoever else can hit M on our computer and Ecamm will add those as markers. We can take our entire video, toss it into Opus, and it like Opus has gotten so good at finding the best possible moments of an episode and with very little work, like being able to make them look great and get them out across all these different podcasts, all these different social media platforms, into newsletters, out to different people, to just be little like mini podcast episodes, right? Like even if that person never goes back and watches your full episode or listens to you, they're still part of your community. They're still consuming your content. They're still connecting with you, your personality, your brand. So I think it's cool that I personally, as someone who is A, terrible at editing and B, a drastic overthinker, how awesome. Welcome to 2026. We no longer need to overthink what the production looks like. We need to just show up as ourselves, messy and all, and whatever that means. Be just real, help people, entertain people, create a space where people can feel welcomed and included, and let the robots do all of the stuff that none of us want to do anyway. Like, let them handle all the other work, writing your show notes, finding the best clips, like thinking through all of it. What a great time and space to be in. I just think it's awesome that video is here. It's awesome it's here to stay. And what a cool, I don't know, I've just been really reflecting a lot over the last, over my personal journey. I hate using that word, but my personal journey over the past 6 or 7 years, right? Like this was really intimidating for me for 8 million different reasons. And how cool that we're now back full circle where now it's even more freeing than it was before. Like now you don't need to be flawless at this. In fact, the more human you are and the more real you are, the better. People want be a breath of fresh air. I think Mary Lou's doing a great job with that. So congrats. And let's all spend our mornings with her, because I think it's a great way to unplug and reset every day. But find moments like that, because I think those are the shows that are going to win going forward. And again, that probably wouldn't be something that someone would think about traditionally as a podcast, but can be consumed in all of the different places that podcasts live. So
yeah. All right. So guys, I want to save you some money right now. So everybody get your little thing that. First of all, use a visual reference, right? Your audience will come up with a reference. On Brandon's show, we have a saying called clip that. And normally what happens with the clip that is they're going to put it at the end, right? Now, however, let's just say you're about to say something cool, which I'm about to do right now. So I'm going to give Luis a clean clip, so that we have a clean clip that Caleb and Jill could go to town on social media. And your audience won't care. So if something cool happens in your show, I see this all the time in regular show. As a matter of fact, who watched football this weekend, right? Somebody, Riley Leonard, right, ex-Notre Dame quarterback, throws a bomb touchdown on one of his first plays as an NFL quarterback. You know what they did with that? Put it in the highlight reel. Right. And at the time during the game, while they're resetting for the next play, they showed it 5 times. So if you know it's coming, don't depend on Opus. Get yourself a visual reference. I couldn't find my scissors, so I'm going to use these little 3D printer clippers right here. Right. You say, okay, I'm going to give you guys a clip right now. Everybody take notes on this. Let's say you can't afford to go and get some fancy AI clipping software to clip your software. You're trying to keep the budget tight. When you come up with something hot that you know you want to be able to use as a clip, just stop the recording without pressing the button. Tell the audience, hey, we're going to do something to make a nice, clean clip so we can share this sucker. And what do? You state the relevant part again. And you state it in a nice, flowy, clean, be yourself way. Fix it and take the time to create that clip live in the middle of the show. And then when you're done, all you need to do is go to that timestamp in your editor, pull that complete clean out and share it to the social medias. That is it. And no one's going to be mad at you and no one's going to fight you because if nothing else, you reiterated a very salient point that they needed anyway. And that, my friends, is how you do a live clip right in the middle of your show. All right, so there's a clean clip. You can take that clean clip. Don't require anything special. It doesn't cost you any software. You can press M, but you can also just say over again what you said because it was salient. Or if your guest, Katie, oh my God, that was fire. Could you repeat that again for the people in the back? That's the beginning of the clip because now the brain cells will go, repeat what? What is she fixing to say? I can't scroll away from that because now I need to finish that loop. Right? The Virgo in me and the ADHD person in me cannot leave that loop open. So if the clip started with, oh my God, Katie, that was fire. Can you repeat that again for the people in the back? Now I'm stuck. Now I got to repeat what? What's she going to say? So yeah, just like give yourself the visual references. Take out a giant, get the biggest, Marianne, she has all these cool things in her studio for her planning. Find the biggest, goofiest Hello Kitty scissors you could possibly find. Find a hair clipper. If you're a person that's bald, get something that doesn't make any sense. And like, we're going to use it as a visual reference and we're going to legit call it, clip that. And no, man, bring this wind run. The marker won't show up in Premiere, but it's not necessary. You can read a number. The number says at 7:27 a.m., or in this case, it will say at 29:54. You can slide. It doesn't matter, dude. Your hands can slide as fast as you can load that by hitting a button, import markers. You could also take the slider and slide it to 29:53. Like, we be looking for stuff that needs to be there. And they're going to get mad at me. Stephanie and Anna, don't get mad at me. They're like, hey, we need a feature to export scenes. No, just screenshot that sucker, bro. Like, you could do it out of the program window. And yeah, maybe we'll get around to it. But for right now, you could just screenshot it and save as a PDF. Like, we don't look for things to be harder because they don't exist the way you want. Find a way to make it work, make it repeatable, make it Stream Deckable. You could actually use a Stream Deck button to highlight the clip. Like, it literally is that simple. And reality of it is, with the way that we're setting up Ecamm, you're going to actually even have the vertical and the horizontal version of that clip already done. All you got to do is open whichever version of the file you want, slide to the slider, chop it where it ends, and send it. So yes, Opus is phenomenal, but you don't even have to do that, bro. You can keep it light and move quick. You can move with a vengeance. So I just want to point that out for the people that go, well, I can't afford to make Opus clips. Cool, don't. Clip it yourself. Get a bottle of Opus. That costs more, actually. A bottle of Opus is like $4,000. But like, yeah, you could just get a bottle of Ripple for $1.75 from the Piggly Wiggly, and then drink Manischewitz or whatever that stuff is called. Anyway, so I wanted to cover the next trend, which I think is very, very big and is coming up. And it's sort of, again, Mary Lou, she's doing the right thing. Although the structured shows do matter, I do want to highlight the point that it doesn't have to be where you've lost your ability to just be a human, okay? So you can make a podcast out of. Now, so Mary Lou and I are, we're friends, and she just finished binge watching Stranger Things.
Back up.
Yeah, I know.
Are you friends?
Hard to believe, right? Hard to believe, right?
No Stranger Things spoilers. I'm like a good 2 seasons behind. Don't ruin it for me.
Yo, thank you. Me too. And so when she was talking about it yesterday, I had to mute her because like, if she said, here's a spoiler that I saw on TikTok. I was like, no, she didn't. I muted her, and I was like, girl, you better not say nothing because I'm actually behind and I need to catch up. And I told myself I was going to do it on the plane, but the people behind me were getting on my nerves. I was about to get in a fisticuffs on the plane. So what happens is I just muted that second, but imagine once I finish my thing, right? Just like you and Nat, I could be like, Lou, let's just put out a 10, episode podcast where all we're going to do is go through all of our Stranger Things feels, and then we're going to put out our fan fiction or fan reactions or fan what I think is really going on. And she'd be like, no, doc, that is absolutely wrong. It turned out the upside down is analogous with blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, no, Mary Lou. So we could go back and forth. We could build 2 camps, right? And it'd be like Doc camp is the upside down is X, and Mary Lou's camp would be the upside down is X. And you could literally just have 2 friends, a pot of coffee or a 40, whatever you got, and we could just sit down and just argue about our favorite show. 10 episodes. She said, can we film this today? No, because Katie and I got to catch up. Katie and I got to catch up. We do not trust you with the spoilers. So, but yeah, that is all. It could be that simple. But the thing would be, though, that format, right? That format is, okay, we just got finished watching Stranger Things and we got some feels. That's the show opener every show that never changes. Okay. And be like, Doc believes the upside down is this. I believe the upside down is this. But let's talk about it. In episode 1, here's my case for why the episode, the upside down is this way. And then episode 2, same thing. So you're just going down. And at the end, you're going to answer questions or take feedback or, go through your mailbox. And then you're going to put in a sponsor break. Well, you don't have any sponsor. Well, guess what? This show is sponsored by Ecamm. We use Ecamm to fill this show. And although they didn't pay us to make this, we're going to throw in our affiliate links because we need to make money. So here's what you do. Go to click this thing, buy Ecamm, and then help us out, help support the show. All of the above. And what you did in 2 things, you made a watchable show, repeatable. I know that if I came in 20 minutes late, exactly what I need to back up or what I can skip, or can I just stay here? Like you start to develop these things that you learn when you come to your own shows late because you know how they work, right? So if you open up Jeopardy and they're already on Double Jeopardy, I can continue here or I can back up to the second half because I don't care about the first puzzle. The first puzzle is too easy for me, whatever the case may be. And then the last part of that is you're going to now be able to, with your audience, develop nicknames. Your audience will have, I call them the Luniverse. She has the Lunatics. Will calls them the Lunatics. But we got a bunch of different names for Mary Lou's people, right? And so you start to develop that thing, and that lets people feel like they're part of something, Flow Riders. You get it? You know what I'm saying? And that's it. Like, don't feel that you need to overproduce it because the reality is people don't want any AI slop. And I know George talked about it up in there. The AI slop podcasts are going to be a thing. The only way to outdo AI slop is to make human, not slop, I don't know, human Wagyu burgers.
What's the opposite? Yeah.
I was thinking of Sloppy Joe. That's why I went to Wagyu Burger because that was the last thing I ate in Japan was an A5 Wagyu Burger. Oh my God, it's so delicious. It's not Wagyu, people. It's not a dog. It's a cow. It's Wa. Wa means harmony in Japanese. Wagyu Burger, not Wagyu. That sounds like you're eating dog. Anyway, yeah. Mary Lou Mafia. I like that one too because that's
I like
also
that one.
good. That was good. I still stick to Lunatics because I know them and they all qualify. So anyway, I just think that just realize that your show doesn't have to be absolutely insane. It can still be just you. And I think Katie and Nat's show is the perfect example. And it's gotten better and better and better. And you're just hanging out with friends and the conversations that you guys have with us and allow us to go back and watch movies that we hadn't watched. And now, like, someone who likes to watch over the shoulder, be like, what movie y'all watching this weekend?
Yeah.
Why are you all up in our business? And then she's like, I just want to know if I want to watch it too. So now sometimes I wait for Karen to be free to watch whatever the movie is because Katie and Nat picked something that she want to see. Right. Yeah. And so even the person who doesn't podcast, I have the same one, all of a sudden be listening to the podcast. And it just happens to be Katie and Nat. And her and Bob will be in the background. Hi, Katie. Hi, Nat. I was like, they can't hear you. They can't hear you.
Yeah.
But it is, people really do build that relationship.
They do build a relationship. And it is funny to me. I think I've said this a bunch of times, but there are people who are in my network, both real life friends who I see, often, and people who I've only are internet friends. I've never met in real life. I've connected or found them one way or the other. And there are a decent amount of them who have never watched a full episode of our show, but who, because of the clips that I post on Instagram and Facebook and reshare in different places, or talking about like setting up and prepping for a show, or talking about watching a movie, they are in the club with us. They are on the boat with us. They are like, I have people all the time who are, like what I would consider to be part of the show. They're not showing up in my stats, in my analytics, but they're invested. Like, and you better believe that if someone asks anything related to 80s or 90s movies, I am the first person that they think of. They are, every time that they like send an email or a DM or whatever, it's asking what movie I'm watching next. Have I done this movie? They just saw this movie. They thought of Nat and I. So it is amazing to me, again, like the vanity metrics that are out there, which we've been saying for years, we should not care about as much. They're not representative of what are now shows, because people are not consuming things the way that they used to. It is not There is no longer a world where every family has 3 TV channels and they sit down and watch their one show every Thursday at 8:00 p.m., right? Like that is rare. People are consuming content in all different kinds of ways, in all different kinds of places. And that does not mean that they are not part of your audience, part of your community, a part of your world. So like there are, I would say at least half of my audience does not watch or listen to the show consistently, but are ride or die for me. So
100%.
so it is amazing and something to keep in the back of your mind when you're looking at those numbers. Don't be disheartened, be consistent, and continue to refine and make it better. It's not the show that I thought I was making when I first started. When we first started that show, I was like, we're going to have a segment where we're going to share video store stories, and we're going to have a segment where we do this and a segment where we do that. And then we started doing the show and none of those segments made sense. And that's not what people wanted. They wanted to just chat about the movies that they loved. So like all of those best intentions are relevant if you don't listen to what your community wants. And in the end, my community just wants to watch movies together. And that's great. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
It means that my show is less structured and probably less structured than what I would want, but it's human and it's real and it's consistent and it's something that people enjoy. And so it doesn't matter how you start, where you start, why you start, all of, when we say just start, even if you have the best, fullest plan, things are going to shift anyway. So you might as well have not as much of a plan and see where the show takes you rather than spending so much time waiting till it's exactly how you see it in your mind or exactly how the plan says, because it's going to change, or it should change
it always
as you
changes.
hear from your audience. It should always change.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to make sure we cover this. So we had a list of trends we wanted to cover, and we covered a bunch, but then we kind of skipped one. So I'm going to reiterate for the midpoint here real quick. Podcast is becoming more show-like. So yes, you're structured and make sure we find that. Katie covered that. That is awesome. The audience wants more personality and less polish. We just covered that one. So that one is in there. And your AI tool becomes your support tool, not the star. So that was supposed to be the 5th one, and we covered that. Now, one we kind of skipped over, but I think we talked about it. I just want to make sure
we talk about this one a lot.
It's hyper important. And this technically was going to be number 3, that video podcasting is no longer optional. And I think this is very important, and it really has to stick in there. This is YouTube's primary thing right now. YouTube is pushing the living heck out of it. And I want to let you know how important this is. Netflix is going all in on podcasting in 2026. They have been trying to hire some of those top shows. They have put in an offer to Diary of a CEO. They've put in an offer to Mel Robbins. They put in an offer to Crime Junkies. They're put in an offer recently to Charlamagne the God in the Breakfast Club. Like, they're trying to get a anchor show the way that JRE is the anchor show for Spotify, right? Diary of a CEO is probably the anchor show for YouTube and so forth. So also you realize as Stephen Colbert and Conan O'Brien and a couple of these guys have come off the airways, they've started their own shows. And I tell people all the time, one of the best models for a podcast is Conan O'Brien. Here's a guy who has all the money in the world, could have built whatever he want. You know what he bought for his podcast? A dining room table and a couple of SM7Bs. That's it.
Yeah.
He didn't go crazy. He literally sitting at a long dining room table that's actually too long for the camera, and that's part of the joke. And he has basically 2 cameras, one looking at each and then one looking down the pipe. I've said this already. And our buddy Matt shared a photo inside the Ecamm community of the various types of looks for a multi-person podcast. I highly suggest you jump into the Ecamm community and find that graphic. I was thinking, Jill and I, next time I'm in Boston, Jill and I are going to have to go to Matt's studio and kick him out and then shoot all of those different looks.
I know,
and like show people what they are without a graphic, because people need to see a video. You know how we are. Yeah. And I was like, we should actually just set those up in Matt's studio because he got space. It has more space than the Ecamm headquarters. So, Matt, we're invading your space, like it or not. Deal with it. Anyway, so I wanted to point that out, though. I do think it's important that we do understand that the shows are becoming longer, and My buddy Benji, who you guys will get to meet a lot because we're going to be doing some stuff with him this go around, he's been telling everyone that the longer shows are the absolute hook. Whereas before, everyone was talking about, oh, your YouTube videos should be 5 to 10 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Now the shows that people watch when they sit on TV is they're looking for 20 minutes plus. And the magic number is between 22 and 30 because that's how we grew up watching TV.
Yep.
Right? Between 22 and 30 or 48 and 60 because that's how we grew up watching TV. And if you make your shows the way that we all grew up watching TV, you sit down, you're ready for that. You know how long that's an experience. When you pop the TV on, you're expected to not move for 30 minutes. So make your shows that way. Don't feel like you got to cram everything in and talk 100 miles an hour and don't go over crazy. So just know that the video podcasting thing is a thing. And, you know, I understand a lot of people, and Kate, you pointed this out in the notes, that the whole camera confidence thing is really big. And you know what? There's no shortcut, bro. You can't buy a book. You can't take a class. You can't learn it. And, you know, I've tried to teach the class. It doesn't work. The only way to get good at it is to do it. Like literally put that camera on, start talking. You will absolutely suck in the beginning. If you guys could hear my first radio show, you would be like, damn, holy crap. What was he doing? How come he did not get fired? But everybody,
some accountability too. Like I don't know, again, maybe it's highly personal and this is just me, but like putting a line in the sand and just saying like, hey, publicly, hey, friends, family, colleagues, everyone, I'm launching, you know, my show on this date and like, you know, expect me to be there. Once you put it out there, even when you are not ready, that's going to force you into the practicing. And you're like, the reality is exactly what Doc said. You are going to have to start badly before you're going to get to a feeling of confidence. So just draw a line in the sand and show up. Set an expectation, put a calendar invite, tell everyone so that they can be like, hey, I thought you were going to be live on this at this time. Where are you? And the cool thing again here in this like YouTube video first, you know, video show, video podcast world is that live streaming is coming back around again. So like we, over the last few years, have seen sort of a dip in live streaming and people have been really more focused on these like really polished YouTube videos, building out these like giant studios, like really kind of having this very curated experience that looks and feels like like what you would see on TV. And now there's a swing back for authenticity, for everything that live streaming has made so popular. And you're seeing more people. Benji's a great example of it. The late night folks are a great example of it. Like they just want to show up as they are, live, long form, to connect with people, to build a community, to be part of an experience. And that can sit as your main show. That can sit alongside a show, but we're really starting to see a lot more live streaming, a lot less polish in that it's not that where people are making their shows crappier. Like I don't mean like they're not caring about camera quality or about audio quality or like, but they're not caring as much about whether they're in some beautiful, fancy, super polished studio space. They're sitting around a dining room table. They're, in their kitchen. They're in their car. They're like, it's sort of the TikTok, Instagram live streaming like space coming into YouTube with we are people, we are sharing stories, we are connecting, we are building a community. So I think it's again a really freeing time. A really, really freeing time.
I liken it to Mom Spaghetti does not look anything like Il Restaurante that's in your neighborhood, but Mom Spaghetti is banging. Right? Yeah. I don't care. I mean, Eminem made a song about it. Mom Spaghetti's off the chain. It doesn't look anything like what you're going to find at some highfalutin Italian restaurant that got served with a nice Chianti and fava beans, but it still tastes amazing. And I think that your show needs to be Mom Spaghetti. Yeah. Just make it from the heart. It feels good. There's love
make
in
it
there.
comfy.
There's that Sunday sauce,
cozy.
Right? That Sunday, by the way, good movie. Known as if you haven't checked it. You got to make that Sunday sauce. Just put it out there. and I think you're good to go. Now, the Creative Depot had a question. Y'all make streaming look seamless, and I love the content. Well, Creative Depot, I do want to put a real big reminder. The reason why we make this look seamless, this is episode 124. If you go back to episode 1, you'd be like, damn, Doc and Katie, y'all are ridiculous. Right?
This is not, but this is episode 124, and Doc has been doing this for forever, and we work for Ecamm. So we spend a lot of our time on camera, behind the scenes, listening to what the coolest, newest features, tools are. We have a graphic designer. We have access to a lot of things as well. So again, like we didn't start this way. We didn't start this way on the show.
No.
We didn't start this way as individuals. We didn't start there is so much behind all of that. But even then, there's still lots of things that we could change and update. And
it is accessible. Yeah. You kind of sort of got to do it. Now, I wanted to say one other thing that I thought was sort of super important as we sort of deal with this and kind of coming up to it. I hear this question all the time too when it comes to the sort of camera conference. Like, well, I don't know if I can speak for 30 minutes about this particular subject. You're probably podcasting about the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe you feel like you need to podcast about that because it's trendy or it's hot. But if you can't talk for 3 hours about your subject matter without taking a breath, you probably shouldn't podcast about it because you will definitely run out of that thing. The conversations that we have here on the flow, we have at dinner when we're all together. Right? We have these conversations when we're at a podcasting conference or with other people. So if you saw us talking to Paul Gowder, who's coming next week, by the way, or to Dave Hamilton, who's coming the week after that. Oh, I flipped him. Right.
flipped him. Dave next week.
Or Jeff or Mary Lou or, Marion, if you saw us in public, this is what we're talking about. So this is very much that. And if you can keep your hands around it and don't be afraid to change your subject, right? If you feel like I'm not going to be able to carry the subject on, be like, hey, I'm going to pivot this show. We're going to do something a little different. And I believe that Stephen Bartlett is a good example of that. When he started Diary of a CEO, he had one thing in mind, similar to what Katie said a second ago, and what the show is now is completely different. And he talks about that on Behind the Diary. And the show evolved into what it is today. And he's asking the questions, that everybody wants to know. So it's not just another, here is some highfalutin person. Let's have them sit there and do another hour-long bio that they've done 10 other times on 10 other shows. He wanted to get into the meat and potatoes of the situation, or the broccoli and potatoes for the vegans. Don't come at me. And your show will change. So just feel free. It's yours. Like, you can adapt it. But know when you get to episode 10, it's probably not yours anymore. At that point, it's the audience's show. So if you made that commitment to show up, you got to show up. That's important. All right, so we have a couple more that we need to get through. I want to make sure that we nail these. And this one, Katie, I thought it was kind of wild because you put this on. You said fewer episodes, more intention. I get that, but explain it to me in the Katie way.
So I think many of us, myself included, actually, we formulate this giant plan and we're like, okay, my episodes need to be an hour long and I need to do it weekly. And if I need to be consistent, I need to show up every single Thursday and I have to be there at this exact time. And it just feels like forever. And when you're in it, real life hits, right? So Nat and I always joke on our show that we're there most Thursdays at 9 p.m., right? We made an intentional decision that we didn't want to do seasons. We didn't want to necessarily do this break, but we give ourselves permission in the format and in how we talk to our audience and in how we've built our community, that if something comes up, if I'm traveling and I'm not going to have time to watch the movie, I'm not going to have time to give the episode how I want, the amount of time that I want to be able to spend with my people, we're going to skip that week and that's going to be fine. Right. So for me, I think, and I really do think that this is a trend, is in being more intentional with what your show is going to look like. And that doesn't necessarily mean seasons or no seasons. I think it means you need to figure out where are the times that you are going to have, Brandon was calling it in the game versus postseason. You are going to need, it is unrealistic, unless you're Doc, to assume for most of us that you're going to do a show every single day for forever and you're always going to be there and nothing is going to get in the way of that. So you need to have a plan. You need to be able to think through when are those moments where you might intentionally want to break so that you can do deep work and brainstorming and planning for the episode, so that you can go to, a conference or an event or a meetup to meet the people that might be guests on your show, so that you can, both go on vacation and spend some time away from all of it to reset and come out refreshed. And that might be that you do it in seasons. That might be that you do, a holiday break. Or that might mean like what Nat and I do, where it's just like, hey, I'm committing to the audience that I'm going to be here most Thursday nights. And if I'm not, I'll let you know. And there are lots of back catalog episodes to catch up. But I think what we're seeing as a trend, and why I really wanted to include this, is that in being more human with each other and with our audiences, we now have permission to just be more intentional with when we're creating and when we're spending that time to take a break and to make sure that we're keeping healthy and not overdoing it. We're not just like, you shouldn't just show up because you've committed to show up. You should show up because you're passionate about it and because you want to show up and because you have value and you want to connect with your audience. And if you don't intentionally plan that out, or at least give yourself permission to take breaks, I think all of us reach a point where you do feel like it just gets so sort of repetitive and you do lose some of that creativity. So I just want for everyone to know that like consistency does not mean I'm going to do this every single day for an hour a day forever. Consistency means I care about this show and I am going to show up for my audience and I'm going to connect with my community, but I'm also going to protect myself and my space and my creativity. And I'm going to, to spend time to reset here and there. So taking breaks doesn't mean disappearing was the note that I put in. So it doesn't, you can be a healthy creator. You can be a successful creator. You can be successful in this space without being there all of the time. You can do it in seasons. You can do it in breaks. You can do it if you're fine. You can be like Doc and stay live or create videos all the time if that's what makes sense for your brain. But be human in this space. We are not robots, and I think we should give ourselves permission to not be robots, to be ourselves and to be human.
100%.
But I wanted to include that because I know that people, we talk a lot about, I know Doc doesn't particularly care for words like overwhelmed or burnout, but I think that the intention behind that is we're not giving ourselves time in that post season to be like, oh, wow, I'm killing it. And I have like a bunch of these incredible ideas and I need to talk to these people, or I need to just, I'm in an analog space right now where like, I need to step away from my computer, my phone, my camera and all of it and go for a walk or crochet a project or something to let my brain like calm down a bit. And that's when the best ideas come to me. So I don't know. For me, I'm going to give myself that time and space this year. I hope all of you do too, whatever that means for you. And the cool thing is I really do think that it's at least one of my predictions for this year is I think more people are going to be doing that and more audiences are going to be much more forgiving of it because, again, they're caring more about the people than the grind and the slop and the everything that comes out of the other side of pushing yourself too hard.
Yeah, and again, like I want to just clarify for anybody who doesn't know, the reason why I don't like the term burnout is people co-opted it and it doesn't mean what they think it means.
Exactly.
Like, first of all, it's not actually in the DSM-5. It's not a thing. But clinical burnout, there is a symptoms that come with clinical burnout, and that those symptoms are exhaustion and cynicism and reduced effectiveness.
Yeah.
Now, not creating a video because you're scared is not burnout, right? Not creating a video because you procrastinated so long that you're embarrassed by, you not showing up and you telling your audience you're going to be there. That's not burnout. And, not creating a video because, you took on all these sponsored things and now you're no longer feeling it. That's still not burnout. And unfortunately, people have co-opted that terminology and they use it in a manner that's not fair to people who actually have the clinical definition of burnout. And that's the same thing with overwhelm. Looking at a bunch of buttons on the screen and calling that overwhelm is not the same thing as a hurricane or a tsunami or
It's actually being overwhelmed. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've been to war, so like a bunch of buttons on the screen scares you. I'm sorry, bro. That just it doesn't. I just feel like you're giving up before you even tried. And my fear is that, and not fear, I don't like that terminology either. My concern is that people will latch onto that word because they heard somebody that they look up to latch onto that word, latch. And then I go to look at the person who's worried about burnout and I look at their content and they're 4 videos in. I'm like, bro, you ain't even broke a sweat. What are you talking about? Like, come on. Like, now you're just looking for an excuse. And instead, just nut up and be like, yeah, I don't feel like doing it. That's better. But lying to yourself and telling yourself that you're sick or you burn out, you got some disease you don't have, it's just not good. It's not good at all because you know what? You just made something that you can't overcome, right? If you just say, I don't feel like it, you can always overcome don't feel like it. So you're giving yourself an obstacle that doesn't exist because you heard somebody else use the obstacle. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, I use this exact example because it's so true. For the longest time, I didn't eat Brussels sprouts because what I knew of Brussels sprouts was my mom boiling that frozen brick of Clarence Bird's Eye Brussels sprouts, boiling it in water, slapping it on a plate, hit it with a little bit of salt. There's your food. That's disgusting. And then for years and years, I avoided them. And then I had roasted Brussels sprouts with bacon and a nice balsamic drizzle. And I was like, yo, that's not what mama made. I mean, I skipped out on 35 years of Brussels sprouts because kids told each other that it was nasty because all our parents in the 80s, 70s, and 80s did the same thing. They boiled bird's eye vegetables. So no wonder our whole generation, many Gen X kids grew up hating vegetables because our moms was making frozen bricks.
Yep.
And now, the vegans and the Katie and Cheryl came out and told us how you can make it taste good. I was like, oh, this is phenomenal. Baby cabbages are off the hook. So
baby cabbages for the win.
You just can't adopt something that somebody tells you to be afraid of and be afraid of it because you're missing out. And as a traveler, all the people that are afraid to travel because somebody told them that someplace is scary, it's unfortunate. So I just try to take those words away from people so that they don't block themselves from doing what they're supposed to do before they even get started. That's the primary concern. So we got to wrap it up. I want to know which of these things do you feel like you're going to lean into the most for the new year?
I think for me, more video content that is just me, more reliance on AI tools for the assist. So like I'm going to really double down on using all of those bots and tools and AI to make the workflow process easier so that I can crank out more content that I want to make. So I don't know. I think more of what I'm already doing, but I feel like now I have permission to do it better, to do more of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like a safer space.
I like it.
2026 feels like a safer space than the last couple of years. I feel like I don't need to justify how I'm creating anymore.
That's it. That's the one. You don't have to justify how you're creating more. So I proved my point last year. I did 419 videos in a row to prove to people that burnout is mostly noise. Right? And that during that time, I recorded a bunch of live videos. I recorded a bunch of shorts. I didn't count either of those videos in that making a long form video every single freaking day. I've made a point to show that you can make videos without over editing them, that you can just say what you got to say and mean what you got to say. And I will stand by saying at no point in that year and a half or year and a quarter did I ever feel like it was a chore. Every single one of those, I wanted to get down to record them. And when I got to Japan, I was going to keep going. And then I was like, you know what? I actually need to spend this time with the fam because I'm realizing that from this trip that it might be harder for Bobs to go on these long trips, right? Because she's 80 now. And
intentionality.
It felt
exactly.
Weird. Yeah, intentionality.
No, but it felt weird, but it was the right thing for you to do because you are not just a creator, you are a human and you have family and you have I think that was the right decision. And I think that exactly is what I mean by I am betting on and super hopeful for a big in for us all this year is just to be really intentional about it. Like none of this should take over our entire life. Like that was the right move. Spending time with your family
and you know what made it hard,
and unpacking Katie? Is going to make you a better creator going forward. Like that is going to make you a better person.
You know this well as anybody else. I'm a Virgo. I'm sitting at 419. The day that I was supposed to do 420 is December 26th. It's the day after Christmas.
Yep.
And I'm like, I really should stop and go do this. But then we were having the time of our lives.
Yeah.
And we're finished dinner and Bob's wanted to go walk around in the damn cold and look at the freaking lights. And I was like, yeah, but I got to go back to the hotel and do my video. And then the little kid said, Emma, 16, is anybody going to die if you don't make that video?
Exactly.
You know what, you little shit.
She's
Who
right.
taught you how to be a smart ass? And then everybody, all of them, moms, Karen, Nana, all of them. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, like the not closing the loop broke me as a person, but then standing there and being, in charge of my family and spending that time. And also we have family friends that came with us on the trip too, right? So it was literally like, 8 of us. And I wasn't going to go break their fun just to do one last video to prove a point, because I already proven my point. I already proved my point that you only get burned out if you tell yourself you burned out, right? Unless you need to go see a shrink, you're probably
close
good,
the loop.
Right?
Like,
yeah,
you can close. Like,
didn't matter.
Make 420
I can make it today
now.
And call it 420
today.
Yeah.
Call it 420
Today.
And close the loop.
Yeah. And that number was completely made up anyway. The number was a joke, and it was made up anyway. I did the 365 like I promised. And then being a smart ass, I go, I'll do 420. So it was a joke. I did 419. I don't feel any way left, right, or different about it. Nobody can come after me and be like, oh, you failed. None of that. And I was like, whatever, fam. Like, let me see your 420. Knock yourself out. The only person who can tell me I failed is somebody that did 500.
Not even like the point of that, the point of that project and the point of all of us jumping into this podcasting, into this show space is to do it, I hope, because it's something that you're passionate about, something that you like is a goal you set for yourself. So there's no like, you didn't fail at it. It was a goal that you set for yourself. So like, it's not about anyone else. It's about whether or not you're able to hit that goal. Like, so again, I don't know. That is similar. I think that nails what I think my prediction is for this year. It nails what I hope that everyone will set as their intention. And that's exactly like how I've felt in doing a collaborated podcast with my best friend who has a ton of health issues. And sometimes it is better for me to respect her health and her schedule at the sacrifice of doing the show than it is for me to just do the show without her or to force her to be on. That's not what the goal of the show is. And that's not a good service to the, it's not a good service to the community that we're building either. So I think that that's really smart. I think that absolutely nails what, I hope that we all show up this year with intention. I changed my answer. That's my one that I want to spend more time at this year, is just really being much more like giving ourselves mercy and being a little bit more intentional about it, because that's how you're going to be in it for the long term. Like those moments of giving to yourself and to your family and to your creativity are going to feed your passion, and your it's going to make those videos stronger and better and help you to connect with that audience more. So, awesome. Go. I'm excited.
Family, you guys have done it. And we flow routed another one, and I'm super stoked about this. I can't wait for next week. We got some cool things coming up. Of course, you guys can always drop us questions anytime. All you need to do is go to flow.ecamm.com, and that allows you to sign up for the podcast. Make sure you're getting all the episodes. We're going to do most of it here on YouTube, but we do put out the other ones on the audio areas as well. You can ask us questions. You can leave us feedback. You can leave clips, the whole 9 yards there. So go to flow.ecamm.com, and thank you for Podpage for helping us put this up. And we also got to send a shout out to Shore. That's our favorite microphones, Shure, and they just dropped a brand new microphone, the MV88 Plus USB. And Mary Lou has been making Instagrams about it. If you want to go and see it, this is something small that you can take around with you if you want to do your podcast on the road. Really effective stuff, but we all are in our Shure mics. Go and check out Shure. You can find out more at Shure.com. And thank them for being a big supporter of the flow. And yeah, there you go. So we got another one in the can. I like it. It's amazing. I'm ready. This is good.
Awesome.
This is going to be a
Yeah.
fire-oriented year. So I'm excited.
All in.
All right, gang. This is how we do it out here. At the end, we go, Flow Riders! Out!
Out. Bye, everyone.